Chapter 13. Gathering Storm. The rail yard raged with gunfire and flickering illusions, a battlefield of rust and desperation. Selene pressed herself against a twisted heap of metal as bullets whined overhead, each ping echoing across the abandoned train cars. Sparks spat from the new disruption device the enforcers wielded, a technology specifically designed to shred illusions. She tasted iron on her tongue, fear, frustration, the copper tang of blood in the air. At her side, Ava clutched her own arm, breath hitching. The empath's eyes were unfocused, overloaded by the swirl of terror and pain around them. Selene glanced over to where Draven and Ethan crouched behind a derelict boxcar, exchanging frantic gestures with a handful of watchers. She could see the strain on Draven's face, the coil of tension in Ethan's stance. Everyone looked moments from shattering. A crack of lightning illuminated the sky, an unexpected flare that revealed the carnage, watchers pinned behind rusted beams, enforcers fanning out in a coordinated sweep. Selene grimaced. They're closing in. It wasn't supposed to end here, in a labyrinth of decaying steel. A sudden rush of adrenaline steadied her trembling limbs. If illusions wouldn't hold, she still had Oneiric Fusion. Maybe she could bend reality enough to shield them. But the thought of summoning that power under so much panic made her chest tighten. She was no master. If her emotions overwhelmed her, the dream energy could unravel. Still, doing nothing meant certain capture. She steadied her breathing, letting the frantic tempo of her pulse settle. Then she closed her eyes, searching for that flicker in her mind's eye, a spark bridging the dream realm and the waking world. The noise of gunfire dulled to a distant roar. Slowly she pictured a barrier arching like glass around the watchers, a shimmering dome that might repel bullets and disorient the enforcers. Her heart thundered. She reached deep, letting the swirl of fear funnel into raw willpower. A faint glow sparked in her chest, coursing out to her fingertips. She clamped onto that glow, pushing it outward. A cry broke her concentration. Ava stumbled forward, a shard of metal lodged in her thigh from the disintegrating train car. Selene's eyes flew open, illusions forgotten. She lunged to catch her friend, guiding her to the ground. Thunder boomed overhead, and rain began to pour in heavy sheets, turning the rail yard into a slick war zone. Ethan dashed over, ducking behind the same hunk of twisted freight. "Ava!" he gasped, voice cracking with alarm. He tore off a strip of cloth, pressing it against her wound. Ava's jaw clenched, tears rolling down her cheeks. She nodded in thanks, though her face was pale. The illusions. The dome. I have to try again, Selene thought, but her hands shook. Every time she pulled at the edges of Oneiric Fusion, a memory flashed. Dream barriers cracking under assault, that black mist coiling in a dream sky. "We're pinned," Draven's voice sliced through the chaos. He fired a round at an approaching enforcer, who dove for cover. Another device crackled, shorting out a small decoy illusion conjured by a watcher. "Fall back!" Ethan shouted, voice rough with frustration. "We need to regroup. There's no point dying here." Selene's shoulders slumped. She pressed a hand to Ava's, sharing a look of apology, then nodded at Ethan. Holding a shaky breath, she half-lifted Ava's weight. If illusions wouldn't hold, they could at least flee while the watchers who still had bullets and breath provided cover. A swirl of guilt churned in Selene's gut, but she felt no alternative. In the flickering strobe of muzzle flashes, watchers peeled away from their meager cover. Two raced forward to help with Ava. Draven and Ethan shot volley after volley at the enforcers. Selene clenched her teeth, forcing the faint scraps of illusions she could muster, distracting silhouettes to lead the enemy astray. The new tech sliced through most of them, but a few illusions hovered just long enough to let watchers dart between train cars and vanish into the stormy darkness. At one corner of the yard, an engine car exploded in a hail of sparks, courtesy of a stray bullet hitting old fuel lines. Flame and thick smoke roiled upward, a fresh hazard. Selene coughed through the acrid fumes. Rain spattered her face, mingling with sweat. She chanced to look around. Where was Lyle? Where were the others? Some watchers had already melted into the labyrinth of twisted freight, each cluster forging its own escape route. Draven signaled to Ethan. "This way!" He angled them toward a gap in the fence, half buried by collapsed metal. "Go. I'll cover you." Ethan nodded, guiding Ava forward. Selene stumbled after them, half blind from stinging smoke and rain. Another watcher brought up the rear, exchanging sporadic gunfire with the enforcers. The thunder of bullets and the shrill crackle of illusions undone twisted Selene's stomach in knots. "Hold on, just hold on." Minutes later they staggered into relative quiet. A collapsed retaining wall offered some shelter from the prying lights and the storm. Selene set Ava against it, checking the makeshift bandage on her leg. Blood trickled through, but the wound wasn't gushing. Maybe it was treatable. The watchers who escaped with them hunched in exhaustion, eyes haunted by the same question. Who set us up this time? Draven joined them, soaked to the bone, a faint trickle of blood marring his temple. "We lost them for now," he rasped, bracing himself against the wall. "I saw a few watchers break away on the other side. Not sure who survived. We'll need to regroup." Ethan's face was drawn with grief. "I didn't see Lyle anywhere." A cold knot twisted in Selene's belly. "I saw someone slip away when the fighting started. Could have been him." The suspicion they'd all harbored, some traitor feeding the regime their locations, erupted in her mind like a fresh wound. But was it truly Lyle, or was that too convenient? Draven brushed rain from his eyes, gaze flicking among them. "We can't jump to conclusions with no proof, but until we know who's behind these betrayals, we move as separate cells, harder to track. We'll pick a new rendezvous tomorrow." Lightning flashed across the sky, revealing the bleak, mud-slick scene around them. Ava clutched Selene's hand, an unspoken plea for reassurance. Selene's mouth felt too dry to speak, her illusions all spent. They were battered, wounded, and uncertain. Yet in the heavy hush that followed, Draven's voice found a determined edge. "We still have the data from the archives. We still know they're capturing Dreamweavers. We fight on. We just need a way to survive these hits." Selene forced herself to nod. She remembered the fading illusions in the rail yard, how her grand attempts at Oneiric Fusion never materialized, undone by fear and the Enforcer's disruptors. Each failure stung deeper, but as she looked at Ava's pained expression, Ethan's grim resolve, and Draven's battered determination, a flicker of defiance sparked in her chest. The Watchers needed hope. If illusions alone couldn't save them, maybe something new, something stronger would. Stifling a shiver, she pressed her shoulder against Ava's, offering silent comfort as the storm raged overhead. Tonight's betrayal had shattered more illusions, but perhaps it would galvanize the Watchers to find truth in unity beyond illusions. A new storm was gathering inside them all, a fury at the regime's relentless pursuit, a vow not to let fear or traitors break them again. They'd survive, and when the time came they'd strike back,